Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Atlantic Front. I am TheJakeman, and thank you so much for coming back to the show. Let's get right into it. We are going to talk about Hurricane Erin, and I am painting her on the screen right there. There she is. Or if you have been interested in Erin, you know that this is the way that she is looking at going here. So we have been predicting for the better part of a week now that she's going to take this northwesterly movement towards splitting Bermuda and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So why would you even want to continue to tune in here? Well, so what we like to say when things like this happen, it's called a close call. So when you have a Category 4 or a Category 5 storm, you are really playing with fire, I would say, when you are trying to predict these things because of the vastness. And you can see that if you were to take away most of all of my screens here, so Erin would be about this size like that. So we're going to grab that. And let's see here. That means she is the size of basically Texas. She would fit in Texas. That is a very, very large storm. That's usually what happens when you see Category 4 and Category 5 storms. So yeah, wind field looks like about that much wind field there. So if we do that, she still is just under the size of Texas and most of the eastern seaboard. So we're talking about half of the Atlantic front is how big Erin is. So when we have this ability, we end up looking at it like terms of this. So let's say she goes and splits right through Bermuda, just like this. Well, then that wind field does touch the Outer Banks. So you're talking about a mess. So as she continues to go forward, and then we say that it does this and moves out just like that. So right now we have, when we say a close call, we're moving the storm like this, and we literally have to thread the needle in order for this to get through Bermuda and the Outer Banks without having some sort of impacts. And no one is saying that she's not going to have no impacts. Obviously, you're talking about riptides and rip currents and all of the stuff going around the East Coast. From North Carolina all the way down, I would say you probably have a wind field that would look like this. That could see tropical storm winds like that. And of course, Bermuda would also catch some of it as well. And then any type of rip currents, you're talking probably like this all the way around like that, I would say, going like this. Swath of potential precipitation would end up being most of the Atlantic front and the eastern seaboard. So all that being said, we are still looking at Erin and thinking that is there any possibilities that she could end up affecting us with any type of a landfall? Well, let's see what the models say. Okay, so here are the guidelines for this is the Euro ensemble. So you're talking, let's see here. So she's going literally just splitting Bermuda and the Outer Banks of North Carolina, just like that. So almost uniformed agreement all the way across the entire modeling AI versions, and hundreds of models are all showing that she's going to go north. Now, why in the world would that end up happening? So there's a lot of things that we need to talk about with specific to Erin, and then we'll talk about some other things as well here. So let's talk about ridges. You're going to hear a lot about why a hurricane moves. I talk a lot about it almost uniformly because that's where the majority of my educational side of it goes into, is, seeing exactly where these hurricanes, what feeds them, what drags them, what moves them. You have a half the size of the planet has an atmospheric involvement. So you have a lot of players, and what makes this all happen. So I just want to pause this right now because this is legitimately right now. And we're just going to paint a couple of things on here that I want you guys to all see. So you have Erin right here, right off just north of the Lesser Antilles, and you have some other lows that are, and what we see primarily here is that you'll see a directional, let's say there's another low there because there always is, and you can see it right there. So let's say it's right there. You see these patterns going through the trade winds like this, like that, and then the westerlies come in like this, all right, and they come like this, and then it pushes. So no matter what you do, those are the directional currents that are always going to happen. So in this case with Erin, it's going to do this, but you can see how this pattern moves. You can see that this is it's wrapping around something. Now, what is it wrapping around? It's wrapping around a high pressure. So remember our Bermuda and Azores, we have our high pressures that usually can set up that are closer to the Azores Islands or closer to Bermuda. So if they're closer to Bermuda, then these highs, the high would be, so I'm sorry, if they're closer to the Azores, then it's the high really sets up right here like that. And that's what you're seeing here, all right? That's what we're seeing. The high pressure is setting up right like this, and it drags and circles all the storms this way with the help of the westerlies. So we have the intertropical convergence zone here. So that's where obviously all the creation is happening. But that is what is primarily happening right now with Erin, because it seems like it shouldn't do that because there's some ridging, and we'll show that right now. So if we look at that, let's take a look at that. So the ridges that we are going to be playing with are more high pressures. All right. These are those ridges that you're seeing. So this ridge is trying to open up and drag through. So this low, as it escapes this high, is going to move down into here, and then it's going to, as it does it, it collects Erin and pushes her out. So we'll see what that looks like right here. So let's go here. We have, just watch this. So Erin moves forward, moves forward, moves forward, moves forward. Now look at that ridging. So the high is out here, and you can see how the movement of this ridge is moving like this, trying to wrap around, and it's trying to collect it. It's trying to take it with it like that, and trying to take Erin with it. That's what this high pressure is doing. It's trying to take it forward. So as we continue to move forward, we then see it move, and then all of a sudden that new high pressure is coming out of the north, and then this high pressure again staying right there over the Azores Islands. So this high pressure is now, so you had a double drag. You have the Azores sitting out here like this, and then you had the newest high pressure that's coming out like this. That's what's happening, and they're all dragging her with it, like that. That's how it works. Every single time when you have a setup like this, most storms are going to turn northwest. It's just what usually happens. And again, it is a wonderful thing, because this thing, it would be at 9:44 on August 19th, which is 3 days away. That would be a Category 5, just like it currently is going to be, because it's going over some of the land. So it did weaken slightly here over the last run, but they do anticipate that it's going to move forward and continue to be a Category 5 hurricane. So 9:40 here, 9:37, 9:38, 9:38. So it's sitting right over this tremendously warm water. This is that large scale of warm water. The only thing warmer than this water here is right there in the Gulf. That's the warmest water, but this is also so conducive to hurricanes being very, very large and dangerous, and just gaining that fuel that it wants. So again, that ridging is still pulling. So that ridge is still pulling. And now you have, now you can legitimately see this high right in here, that high. You can see it pulling Erin with it. And it just sits out there and just pulls it forward. All right. So that is what Erin is doing. That is how it's working. That ridge that comes down, it breaks up the normal ridge and then takes it towards the west, thus making Erin a pretty much of a fish storm completely. But that is what the ridge looks like. That's where the steering is. But let's take a look and see what the GFS is saying. Here is the GFS, and there is Erin right where we were predicting as of right now, as a matter of fact. So right at August 16th, and then we move her forward. She is still a Category 4 hurricane into a Category 5, and she starts to make her northern move to split in between the Bermuda and the Outer Banks. Now, as you can see, that's not really a split, is it? Because there is some contact there. Now, when we talk about contact, we're talking about this area right there, and then this is, of course, Bermuda and all that. So, this is that X marks the spot zone. So that wind field is massive. So you're going to see that. Now, when you are talking about the Outer Banks, this is the weaker side of the storm, and this is the stronger side of the storm. So usually when we have our hurricanes that get very, very close, we just get a lot of rip tides, rip currents. And of course, the Outer Banks are going to get some sort of tropical storm warnings. So that would be the 20th. So we're talking about the 20th. So, there are going to be impacts. They're just not going to be catastrophic by any stretch with regards to Erin. And as she moves forward, she continues to go, looks like, legitimately keeping hold and staying a Category 5 monster that's going to have some sort of beach erosion and rip currents and rip tides. It does look like it's going to maybe do a Newfoundland, something like that. So, that's a long way out, but you are still talking about a possibility of a Canada. It wouldn't get the full brunt of it by any stretch, but it looks like it still holds together at a 942 that it moves into Newfoundland like that. So that is what the GFS says. Let's take a look and see what the Euro says. Here is the Euro. So we have 979, 977. So the Euro has more of a land effect that's going to take Erin out a little bit, maybe bring her down to a Category 3-ish, but then she does pick up steam. And right around the 19th, she is churning out there like crazy, and then picks up the steam and then agrees with the GFS that it's going to go through and split between Bermuda. And again, that little area, that little zone right in there, this guy right in there, you're going to see stuff. There's going to be some sort of effect that's going to end up having this storm with the coastline. Just nothing that is going to be catastrophic, mostly just the fish storm type, but a tremendous close call. This would be about as close call as I think it could be. And that is, it's not concerning, because the word concerning is when you see something that is, but you're talking about, this would be August 21st. All right. August 21st is 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. So 5 days out. So just a wiggle west. And you're talking about a possibility that more effects are going to come on to shore. Just a wiggle. I'm not talking about any type of loss in the model, foundation, or any of the confidence, or loss of confidence in the models. The models are doing, pretty right on track. But again, these storms have a mind of their own, and that ridging is that high right there. Is that enough to pull her out? Is that enough to do it? Can the westerlies come in and really push? Is there a front that comes off here? Is there enough that's doing that? Is it too warm? Does it stall? That is the other side of it as well. So if we are going to be talking about a stall, if it stalls just for a moment, now it's a really fast storm. So if it was to stall here just for a moment, would something end up not being able to do it, not being able to move it out? But since you do have a dominant high that has not moved right there, and it has been creating things. This was that ridged high that comes out just like that. So you have two that are pulling. So it's almost a dragging. So it's dragging it towards it. So it wants to eat. All right. So just as much as Erin wants to eat, the highs want to pull it towards it. So you have a double high. So you have this high that's a weaker high, but it does have enough at the very end to pull. And then the predominant high is going to end up ruining the day. Now, if that thing was just slightly, and I mean slightly, setting up here, more around the Bermuda side of it, all right, does that end up setting up something where this could have gone like that? Yes. So this out here at the Azores, and then this out here at the Bermuda, this being never, ever stopping, never losing any steam whatsoever. It just set up out there, which made it conducive for that hurricane to not come into the North Carolina, South Carolina border or coast. So that's the Euro. Let's take a look at the see what the Euro AI looks like. So here we have the Euro AI, and this is tomorrow, and it is still doing exactly what we were thinking about. There is a little bit more, I'd say, a little bit more of the effects that are coming in, maybe all the way out to Tennessee-ish, out. I mean, it's literally I'd say half, maybe most of, I'd say at this point, anything east of the Mississippi would be having some level of precipitation that is being exacerbated by Hurricane Erin. So a lot of agreement there, and everything does seem to the predominant highs moving out there, dragging it out, taking it out. So you can see it watch these H's. Okay, this one doesn't move, and this one's the weaker one, but it is ridged, and it comes out and it sucks it out. That's what they do. All right, that's what they do. So if this guy stayed like this, and this guy moved, let's say this guy stayed stationary, and this guy moved out here like this, just like that, and then like that, and then was just setting up like this. Well, what would it have done? Erin would have done this like that, because it's not strong enough to take out that high. That's a predominant, but it's set up way out here. That's the reason. That's why it does it. So those are the latest on Hurricane Erin. Now, I want to show you something on the GFS that is the newest storm. A lot of the models are just starting to get this. The GFS is the first one usually to kind of come in and say there's something possible brewing out here, okay? So let's take a look at what the GFS is saying going on after Erin. So there's Erin on August 20th, so 4 days out. But look down here, everybody. This is something that is very, very interesting. Now, I've been watching these MDRs for a while there. I thought one was going to have some, I guess, some chutzpah behind it, had some, have some strength behind it, but it really didn't. But this one, the GFS is starting to say we need to take a look at things. All right, so I'm going to move this forward. Watch Erin leave the building, and this low down here, it's already a 10-10, and it starts to set up, but it stays very, very south. So when it stays that far south down into the intercoastal convergence zone, you then see the intertropical convergence zone. Then you see this start to move out, go over the Lesser Antilles and into the Caribbean. This is the first time we've really talked about the Caribbean. All right. When the Caribbean is involved, we'll call it the first wave So anything that goes into the Caribbean like this, so it goes in like this, then it is very, very warm. The only thing, remember what I said before, the only thing warmer is the Gulf. Super warm. So if this, and this would be Fernand, that would be the next named storm, Fernand. And let's see what the GFS is saying here. Again, it would be moving into the Caribbean into warmer waters. So that means if we were to move this forward and we see it skirting just south of Puerto Rico and into the Dominican, and then goes moving up towards, up into the Greater Antilles, just into Cuba, and then makes a pretty good Cuban hit and skirts along Cuba. Now, that would be terrible for Cuba, but of course, that would be a very large hindrance for any type of this storm to gain any strength while over land. So it has a little bit of an opportunity to gain some strength right at 965, 957, 954, 953, 953, 952. So they're saying it does hit the lower side, I'd say the western side of Florida, down in that, the Keys area, and then skirting up through Tampa, and then making a northwest move, and it stays hitting, going into and really giving the larger part of that storm into the Big Bend, into more of the Mississippi area, and then going into and really affecting a tremendous amount. Of the size of this thing is massive, and it would be a rain event that would start for the East Coast. Well, Florida would start around the 26th, and it would probably come in around the 26th. Wouldn't stop raining, and then it would pick up into the Carolinas and Georgia and South Carolina, and that would be all the way through the 28th, and we'd still see the Carolinas and Mississippi and Georgia on the western side of that storm. Eastern side of that storm, the dirty side, and then it goes into the Mississippi area and then skirts out and turns into a low. And then does it stall out? It looks like it does leave the building, and then it does have some, maybe it collects into this low and then moves out. So now that's way far out. That's of course a couple weeks out, but the GFS is saying that there is another storm a brewing, and that would be Fernand. And that's what we would have. Fernand. Never heard of that name before. Fernand. So if we have Fernand like that, then you have another storm that would be around the 24th. Maybe it would probably form, I would say, let's see, it forms, I would say it really gets itself together around the 21st, and then I would say would be a tropical depression by the 21st into the 22nd, and then it would stay a category 1 to category 3 as it goes into 947. 947 going, so you have a big mamma jamma, a large category 4 that would go into the Dominican and Haiti, and then of course into the Cuban area, and then lose its steam over the land, and then pick up steam and then skirt the west coast of Florida. And then, as I said before, it then moves over the Atlantic front into the lower Atlantic, Big Bend, and Alabama areas. So that is what Ferdinand would look like. There's most of the models as far as the Euro is concerned. If we take a look at that, I'm going to leave that name up there just because I think that that's important for us to take a look at that. So this would be the 21st, and we see Erin going through there like that. And then now this is where that area is down in here. And Euro says it doesn't really collect itself. It stays up, but it stays north and doesn't go into the Caribbean like the GFS said, but it's still there. So that area right in there is still what the GFS would say would be Ferdinand or Fernand. So if this stays just north of the Caribbean, just north of that water and just in that area, then it won't form, and that's what the Euro is saying. So the GFS is obviously a more stormy model, and it always has been and always will be, and we're talking a long way out, but it's definitely something for us to look at and look for in the future, and we will keep an eye on it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do another video tomorrow, and I'm going to do another video on Monday, and we're going to see exactly where or if Fernand is going to affect the Greater Antilles, Lesser Antilles, Cuba, Florida. I hope you have enjoyed it. I certainly have. Erin is going to be scary. We're still going to be watching Erin, but we're just getting started in this season, folks. So I'm going to keep on giving you guys as much information as possible with a lot of different formations and models, and watching for certain aspects and tendencies in the models. So come on back. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and like button so I can at least give you guys some more of this information. I am a small channel, but I do want to continue to give you guys another opportunity with a little bit more of a deeper dive into some of these models than you would from some other places. And I'm just going to stick to the models and stick to where the truth lies. And if that's something you're interested in, please do give me an opportunity and subscribe. I certainly have enjoyed this one. I hope you have. So come on back. This is the Atlantic Front. I am the Jake Man, and we'll see you next time.